Hey everyone, I want to go over the details of the informative speech. This is chapter 6 in your student guide. Hopefully, this will be helpful because this speech is worth a lot of points and the persuasive speech is also worth a lot of points. So, I really want to make sure you understand what this is requiring of you. Okay, so the informative speech is to teach us something, to teach me something in the case of this class. You're informing me about something. Often we're inclined to speak to persuade, even in simple things like, hey, I'm gonna have chicken for dinner tonight. That could be a statement where I'm just informing something. But if I say to you, hey, let's have chicken for dinner tonight, that same sentence with that different tone is a persuasive statement. So this is where this can get kind of tricky. And as long as you're aware of it, like as long as it's in like your periphery that you need to take that into account, usually nobody has a problem with it, but just be mindful of it. Okay. So this speech is 5 to 6 minutes long, and you need to have 3 to 5 primary sources. Now, what we mean by that is peer-reviewed or credible sources that will support your speech. This speech is supposed to be developed and delivered as a TED Talk style speech. So just be mindful of that. Most of you have seen a TED Talk, so I shouldn't need to cover that so much, but you will want to look at TED just as inspiration to help. Now, there's something here in bold I want to bring to your attention. It says your instructor must approve the topic before you begin. Now, I love learning about literally everything, and because I am your primary audience for this class, you do not need to worry about approving the topic with me. Just consider your topic approved. I know that you each have very interesting things that you are involved in and like to teach others about, and I would encourage you to just go with one of those things. Okay, here are your goals. You are encouraged to select a topic that challenges you in new ways. So, let's say we love learning about skateboarding. I did actually have a student do this presentation. So his whole goal was to teach us about skateboarding, but something that he did with his presentation was he learned more about the history of skateboarding. And so that allowed him to challenge himself in new ways to learn even more than he already knew. So it can be really simple. Sometimes we read these goals and it seems overwhelming, but just think of it more in terms of baby steps. Something else you need to know is you're not representing a TED Talk. So you're not finding a transcript of a TED Talk and presenting it. That's not what we're doing here. What you are doing is you are, excuse me, you are doing your own version with the topic that you are interested in of a TED Talk. Another goal that we have for you with this is to tell an interesting story that's related to the topic that will create an interest from the audience and that introduces your topic. This is a great time to look at TED Talks, and as you listen to them, look for the way they use personal stories to introduce their topics, because that's exactly what we're asking of you here. And then as you begin your presentation with a critical, thought-provoking question that is related to your topic. I read that really awkwardly, but basically what we're doing here is we're saying, okay, you're going to tell a story that's going to bring us to the topic, and then you're going to ask us this really thought-provoking question. And in the outline, that's called your critical question. All of the research that you do is going to support this critical or thought-provoking question, okay? And then which I stated right here, that's the whole point, that's the goal, is that your research is in answer to the critical question that you propose. Okay, now I already mentioned that this is worth 100 points, so that's worth 10 quizzes, and for this class we're only doing 7 quizzes, so just be mindful of that. Like, this is like worth the bulk of your grade. This and the persuasive speech. Now, we've slowly been increasing the point value of the assignments that you do each week, but this one and the persuasive speech are worth the most. Now you're going to do another full sentence outline in outline form. I cannot underscore that enough, with in-text citations and a reference list. Okay, so this needs to be full APA. That means a title sheet in APA style, not just one that you get off Word or Google Docs, okay? APA style title sheet. The outline. The outline has in-text citations. If you don't know what those are, do a YouTube search to learn about APA style in-text citations. And then you're going to have a reference list in that outline. In addition to this, you are also going to have a reference list in your PowerPoint or with your visual aids that you use to record your speech, whatever it is, okay? But you need to have something that basically says, these are my sources. And in addition to that, your presentation. So if you choose to do a PowerPoint or a slides or something like that, you need to have some kind of in-text citation that verifies and validates where you've gotten your research. Okay, now here is one thing I do want to bring to your attention. You may use video clips, but they cannot be longer than 18 seconds. Okay, that keeps us within the framework of copyright and intellectual property law. Okay, so now we're not doing this in class, so but you can know that you can use anything to help support you in doing this presentation. So that means if you have a copy of your outline off screen where I can't see it, that's totally fine. You have note cards off screen, totally fine. Okay, anything to help you. You do need to go to the public speaking lab. You do need to consider ethical communication, like as you're giving this presentation, is your presentation respectful and fair and providing equal treatment for anybody of a different race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identification, disability, socioeconomic status, or national identity than you? So basically, like, just please be mindful of the people around you. Now, even though I might be the only one receiving this presentation, doesn't mean that it can't be found or leaked. Okay, so just be mindful of that. So you still want to be within that framework of ethical communication. Now, we're not doing peer evaluations, and I've already mentioned all of this. So here's what you're going to need. These are the deliverables. You need the full sentence outline. It needs to have the references. You need to have, this is what you're submitting. You need to have the speech lab form. Please make sure you're doing that. You're working with the speech lab. And you need to have anything else that will help support you, like your visual aid. And then here at the end of the chapter is your outline for this speech. Now, please remember, just like I've said before, and I will probably say again, the closer you follow this outline, the better score you will receive. Now, that seems dumb to make it so plug and play, but what we're trying to do is we're training you on a professional speech outline to make sure that you understand what it is to give a professional public speech. Okay, friends, I hope that this helps. I will also be doing one for the persuasive speech, but I just want you to be mindful that this is available to you, and that if you have any questions, you are definitely welcome to ask. Send me email, whatever. If you need an example, here is an example of that full speech outline. Okay, so these chapters actually contain a lot of information. All right, my friends, I hope that helps.